spend time crying about what you lost, you never get shit. And I'm gonna get mine. You can be goddamn sure of that.
Rock vs. Quan. It is setting up to be an early battle in Season 4, but it definitely won't be Rock's first and last. There's a whole host of issues for Rock to deal with besides a price increase of 20%. Her trying to take Quan's position, which you do have to assume. There will be a pushback from Quan and his people. Meanwhile, Unique has just started to hit her operation and her inner circle, starting with Andre Barnes. His next move will be Richard and Sonny at the Chinese restaurant. However, with the death of Andre, things are going to be even more difficult for Rock. Does the deal that he had from one of his moles within the Bureau die with him? Or is that something that could still potentially be revived? We know Rock is no stranger to playing dirty. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, especially to level the playing field. And we know how cutthroat and ruthless Rock has been before, and no doubt will be at some point in Season 4. But how does she go about navigating all these moving chess pieces? Because she's already lost one huge crucial piece, and she's also about to lose a hell of a lot more. We haven't even got to Kanan going behind her back, potentially with the influence of snaps and pop. There's also Marvin making mistakes again. So just like we used to say for Ghost back in Power, who was dealing with multiple issues on all fronts, he was dealing with his business setbacks at Club Truth with the likes of Simon Stern, pressure from the streets from various connects like Felipe Lobos, Milan, Jason Michich, to trouble at home, issues with his relationship with Tariq, Tommy, Angela Valdez, and then there was him dealing with law enforcement. There was also a moment where his back was really against the wall, and I really do wonder, is it that time for Rock in Raising Kanan Season 4? Now, we know Rock is no stranger to war. We also know she's never someone who bends a knee to anybody in the streets. She stands her ground, lets her competition know where she stands, and she does make sure she's never taken for a fool. Previously, we've seen her in a war with Unique in Season 1, although that is something that's going to be reignited for Season 4. We're just seeing Unique pouring petrol on the fire. There was also the Italians over in New Jersey in Season 2, who were led by Sal Buscemi. Season 3 was actually her trying to leave the game after her near-death experience. For half of Season 3, we did see her trying to be a regular civilian, trying to build a legit business and an empire, and I do think had she given it a real go, if she really put her mind to it, I really do believe she could have done something great. But we all know Rock is all about the game, and Season 3 was about her having to deal with threats such as Ronnie, Snaps, and Pop. She also started to build her drug empire from the ground up from episode 306 under a new connect named Quan, who was Unique's previous connect. And that brings me over to Quan and the events that we saw unfold in episode 402. Quan summoned Rock for a meeting before hitting her off with her re-up. Unfortunately for Rock, this was about a price increase, and it wasn't any ordinary small amount, it was a huge increase of 20%. Now, what's actually led to this price increase, we're not 100% sure. Could it have been what Marvin did at the Chinese restaurant? I'm not too sure. It would be nice to get some answers as to why. But just imagine as the owner of a business, because that's what Rock is. She may be the leader of a drug empire, but at the end of the day, it is a business. Sometimes drug dealers know more about running a business than professional businessmen. Again, we've seen it in Power with how Ghost was able to adapt and grow both. But imagine as a business owner, you receive a 20% price increase from a supplier at the drop of a dime. Imagine how that would change your entire organization at every single layer. Can you afford to take the 20% hit? Definitely not. Maybe in the short term you can, but you're definitely going to need solutions in the long term. So what are the options when someone drops a 20% price increase on you at the drop of a dime? Can Rock go to another supplier or a connect? Possibly, but this is where it's very different to the real world. In the real world, you're probably dealing with contracts and clauses. In the streets, you're going to be dealing with people with guns, so it isn't just as easy to get up, leave, and move to another connect. Now, Rock's actually gone for another alternative, take Quan's position as the connect. However, again, it comes back around to the same point. She's not just going to have to offer something higher than Quan, I think she's going to have to wipe him off the chessboard, because there is no way in hell he goes quietly. Imagine someone coming for your spot in the streets, there's no way you're going to go down without a fight. Now, even if it was a possibility where Rock could just offer Stefano more than Quan, and where she'll have a seat at the table with the big dogs, just how does Rock plan to build enough capital when her operation is being hit by Unique? That's the problem I think she's not going to see. Unique is going to be attacking her operation on all fronts. We've already seen the death of Andre Barnes. The Chinese restaurant is definitely next, and then it'll probably be her transportation side. David and Terry, I probably wouldn't be surprised if Unique goes and takes them out too. So how does Rock manage to find a way out of this one, especially when she doesn't even know who's hitting her operation? We know with Rock, she always manages to find a way. Some way, somehow, what Rock wants, she does normally get. Even if it is with the use of dirty tactics, we've seen her do it before, when she paid for the information to get the location of Unique's re-up. She delivered this to Detective Howard and caught Unique completely off guard. He took out his best friend he grew up with. He lost his connect in Dean, and it was downhill ever since. If we take a look at history, it was also said she was working undercover for Detective Howard, and also helped set up DEF CON. She also did something very similar to High Post. This is someone who is very ruthless, and won't let anybody get in her way. So could she use some kind of dirty tactic in Season 4? I do think with Rock, the one thing we've all learnt is, you can never rule it out. Let's remember, Andre did have a mole within the Bureau who said they were looking into Stefano Marchetti. Andre mentioned if she were to give up information on Stefano, which leads to a prosecution, law enforcement were happy to compensate. Whether that deal is still on the table after Andre's death, maybe that deal dies with him. Maybe his mole thinks Rock is behind Andre's death, or she's involved for whatever reason, and that's no longer an option. Maybe that puts her back on law enforcement's radar. But if it is still an option, I'm actually going to ask you guys a question. Do you think Rock would bite? Would she go for this deal? But coming back around to Quan, there are going to be so many other moving chess pieces such as Unique hitting Rock's operation. Marvin's also back to making mistakes and working behind her back. That's also something else that needs to be dealt with, which could have already caused irreparable damage. We definitely need to see the fallout from Marvin getting rid of one of Stefano's highest earners. I'm sure there's definitely going to be consequences for that particular kill. Kanan will also start to drift further away under the influence of Snaps and Pop. We already know he is going to go behind her back to Stefano. So all these problems are going to mount up for Rock real quick over these next 2 or 3 episodes. And it really does make me wonder, will she manage to work her way out of this one? Will she still be able to offer something higher than Quan, or be able to fight off Quan if she ends up in a war? It's definitely going to be interesting because I think, for the first time, I really don't know how Rock will manage to pull it off. The reason why I mentioned Ghost's situation at the beginning of the breakdown was because every single drug dealer will go through a bad spell. Shit just happens which you can't foresee. Rock's story has also kind of mirrored Ghost in the sense, Ghost started Season 3 of Power as a legit businessman, so did Rock, only for them to end up back in the game. Of course, due to different circumstances. Season 4 was also where we arguably saw Ghost at his lowest ever point. Up to that particular day in Power, he thought it was all over. He was on the verge of giving up. We know Rock is no quitter. There's no way she'll quit. But I do think it is time for Rock to really have a back against the wall in Season 4, just like Ghost did back in Season 4 of Power. We've already seen tears in the official trailer, and like I mentioned when we broke down the trailer a few months ago, it does take a lot to break Rock. Who has Rock in tears? Is it Joyce Thomas? Is it something else? I do think it is a valid question for Season 4, based on history, based on what we know so far, and what we've seen from various teasers and trailers for Rock's story arc. How is she going to deal with all these moving chess pieces? This is why I also mentioned in a few of my previous breakdowns, I really don't believe she can do this without Lou. I do think she is going to have to call Lou and ask for his help at some point. So this whole situation with Rock and Quan isn't just about dealing with Quan, it's about dealing with everything around her, from saving her operation, Marvin's mistake, Kanan going behind her back, and we haven't even touched on her personal life. We know she went through the termination of her pregnancy. That's something Patina Miller has teased will come back into the storyline later in Season 4. There will be a period where she does feel some remorse. Will she also have this conversation with Unique? Will she have this conversation with Joyce Thomas? Because there's definitely a lot more to learn when it comes to the Thomases. So her abortion and the Thomas family secrets, those two are definitely something that will be a bit of a slow burn. I think we're going to have to be a bit patient for them to play out across Season 4, but that's what makes Raising Kanan so good.
The show has started off slow. You know, what's going on even with this season? It's got to start off slow. I said, that's called good writing.
The pacing of the show, the writing, the level of detail, cinematography, Sasha Penn along with the Raising Kanan team have done a really good job in telling a complete story, and that's what I do think it will be come the end of Season 5. Who knows, maybe there is a Season 6, but if I were a betting man, I'd say Season 5 was the last, which would probably transition into Power Origins. But that's a breakdown of where we are with Rock's story arc at this moment in time in 402. I do think this is the first season where we really will see Rock struggle, where her back is against the wall, where she feels completely isolated on her own, with no one to turn to and with no way out. But the floor is now yours. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on all things Rock heading into the rest of Season 4. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.